In this video, we'll speak about why is session start important, where to place it, best practice, and how to avoid multiple calls to it. So we'll start with the first question. Why is session start important? Now, session start is important because it initializes the session, allowing you to store, retrieve, and manage session variables across multiple pages for the same user during their visit. It also enables the use of session-related functions like session onset and session destroy, which are essential for clearing or ending a session. Without session start, you cannot access session data like session username or use session functions to manage user-specific data or session lifecycle. So let's have a look at the pages where we've used session. So in the index page, we've used session start to be able to access the session array. In logout, we use session start so we can access some functions related to the session, such as session onset and session destroy. In the login page, we use session start so that we can access the variables, session variables, such as the username that's sitting in the session array, which we stored at this point here. And in the welcome page, we also, so in the login page, we actually stored information to the session array, whereas in the welcome page, we use session start to access data that's sitting in the session variable, session array. So what happens if we don't use session start? So I'll show you, for example, in the logout or even the welcome page. So the welcome page pretty much checks if the user is logged in. If they're not logged in, they're redirected to login. So I'll show you how this works with session start. So I'm just going to go to the dashboard. This is the welcome page. However, if the user session start is not there, so I'm just going to save. Here we are going to check if the session array is set, if there's anything in the array session that's got username details. So as soon as I refresh, it's taking me directly to the login page, and that's because it cannot identify any, it doesn't have access to the session, so it won't be able to verify the user. So let's see. Now it works fine when we brought it back. So that's an example of why this session start is important. If you're gonna have to store or access information that are relevant to the session, like the session array or some session functions like session destroy or onset, you want to make sure to have the call to session start. The second question is about where to place the line or the function call session start. So it's important to place this at the very top of your script before any HTML or echo statements. This is because PHP needs to send session headers before any output to the browser. So let's have a look at the index page and how this page works. If the user we're checking if there is any details in basically if the user is logged in, then we display the dashboard and logout pages or links. Otherwise, we just provide the user with a login link. So if I go to index, now we can see that the user is already logged in. So this really should give us the view of a logged in user. However, if I get rid of this line, session start, if I actually relocate it, put it somewhere else, say I'll put it at the end of everything, and yeah, don't worry about it, just for example purposes. So it doesn't really, is not effective. So really assumes that nothing's been set. So that's why it's important to place this right at the top, at the very top. Okay, the third question, best practice. Best practice of where to actually place it would be if you've got multiple pages that actually call session start every time. And then as you build your page and you create more pages, you might forget to add session start and your page is not working as expected. And by the time you figured it out, the best practice is to include session start in a common configuration file, example config.php. That's included at the very top of every page to simplify maintenance. So I'm just going to right click in the Explorer area here and create a new file called config.php. Now over here, I'm going to say include some details. Now, if you've noticed, some pages in my PHP script would have the require database connect. So this is my database connection file. So that's something I want to include in my configuration file. So let's just place session start. You want to put in whatever you like. So for me here, I'm putting so this is for start or resume the session. And over here, that's just something that came out of the way, like for this video, database connection or other configuration settings, and go here. Okay, so now instead of calling this file, I can now just call config.php. Let's get rid of that. And I would place this every time there's a call to session start. So that's a common practice that you can actually do. Although not all these pages require, for example, my database connection file, but just in case I might need it in the future, I'm including it here. Okay, so this should still work exactly as is. Let's just double check. Yep, it looks good. Okay, let's go back to index and let's see what else we have in our last part. So here would be about how to avoid multiple calls to it. So calling session start multiple times can cause an error. So let's see what can happen is if I place this again here. So there's a call to session start in the configuration file. And again, I've placed it here. I'm purposely trying to have an error. So now we get this error saying ignoring session start because the session is already active. It's pretty much like a notice. So how would we avoid something like this? That's something I've placed more information here. So check whether PHP session is currently active using if session status is equal to session PHP session none. I'm going to copy this line and go to my configuration file. And right here, I'm going to place that if statement and close it off. So here is what's happening. I'm just going to copy this part here. Okay, we can actually talk about it from here. So session status is pretty much a built-in PHP function that returns the current status of the session. And PHP session none is a constant representing the status where no session is currently active or started. So this line, this one would return this constant if the session hasn't already been started or no session related headers have been sent. So that's one way to avoid multiple calls that could cause an error in here. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope it was informative to you and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.